Hey everyone, welcome back. With us now is Allie York, who's going to be talking about simulations and many other lovely things to do with storyline. I won't stay on the camera too long, as I know people are excited for this session. Just a quick reminder that all the recordings of every session so far are now available on YouTube, everything right the way up to Phil's product mindset session this morning with the headless LMS session from Kate coming up shortly. And if you would like to support this event and the channel moving forwards, our Patreon is still available and it's just £1 a month. Other than that, I'm going to get off the stage and hand over to you, Ali. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, everyone. Good morning for those of you that are in the US, and good afternoon for everyone across the pond, as they say. So, my name is Allie York, and I'm going to be talking about storyline simulators, and not only talking about them, but giving you the opportunity to play with them. So, I have a file, a wormhole link that I shared with Tom. And so you can go to that link while I'm doing my introduction to go ahead and download both the slides and the storyline file that I'll be working off of today. So, a little introduction about me. So, my name is Allie York, and I am the owner and chief learning designer of York and Yours Creative Education Solutions. So, a little bit about me is I have a master's degree in chemistry, which is everyone finds that a little bit interesting when they haven't really met me before and they've only seen me in the ID space. But I do have over 11 years of experience as an educator in higher ed K-12 and corporate environments. And I've been an instructional designer, developer, and project manager, and now program manager for over 4 years. So, um, in addition to running my own business, I am a full time freelancer. So, I freelance for a lot of companies that you've probably heard of before through LinkedIn and otherwise. I don't know if I should name drop any of them, but yeah, quite busy with a lot of freelance projects lately, and it's a good time. So, in addition to doing the work stuff, there are things that I have particular passions about, as we all do, and I would say that my favorite spaces to make a splash in our community are mentorship for new IDs, project management, and my tool of choice is ClickUp. I'm actually ClickUp certified, which is it's probably one of the nerdiest things that I have besides my chemistry degree behind me. And storyline simulators. Oh, hey, that's why you're here today. Oh, hey, look at that. How fateful is that? And also along a similar line is storyline troubleshooting. So I really love when someone says, Allie, how do I make storyline bend to my will? Well, that's another reason why I'm doing this, because it's just so fun to try to fix those bugs and solve those problems and make those triggers do what you want them to do. So that is a little bit about me and what I'm doing and why I'm here in front of you today. So we'll kind of go into what a storyline sim is and all of that, but I wanted just to show you some screenshots and briefly discuss examples of, oh, you're doing this workshop, what have you done before? So one example of a storyline simulator I built was for a company that creates electronic lock boxes, and they wanted to train their customers on how to utilize their mobile app along with the actual lockbox itself. So that was pretty cool. And actually, the timing of that project was really neat because that was about 6 months before I started the process of buying a home. So I learned a lot about the whole home buying process through that process, which is kind of cool because they make lock boxes. Um, last fall, I had the opportunity to work for a Fortune 500 company, Fortune 200 company, actually, I believe, um, creating simulators for point of sale terminals for the restaurant industry, a product similar to, well, I won't really name drop, but I spent a lot of time making hotspot based simple sims. And so I'll show you the method that we utilize there. And then the very first simulator I created was when I worked for a um, telecommunications company, and I created simulators for certain tasks that you would use a remote for. So programming your remote to your TV, programming your remote to the receiver. And that was a really cool project that no one on our team had really done something like that yet. So it was a really great opportunity. And that's actually where I fell in love with, oh, I really like making all these triggers and making all this cool stuff. Yeah. Making all these neat things uh, digitally. So it was a really good time. So um, these are some examples of what I would call simple sims, and we'll define that in a little bit here. So what we're going to be covering in our time together today is, for the sake of our talk, our definition of what a simple simulator is. And then I'll give you a behind the scenes walkthrough of two kinds of simple simulators built in Storyline. Wow, that's a lot of S alliteration. And then the hope is to have you practice with the um, file that is in the wormhole link. And then you can play around with that. You can have that. You can do whatever you want with that for the most part. And yeah, then you can practice. We can discuss and all that jazz. And then some next steps for staying in touch. Our journey doesn't end here, and uh, opportunities for us to work to talk about storyline together later, kind of combining a lot of things I mentioned earlier about things that I love doing in our space. So stay tuned for that. All right, so the first thing I want to gather, because I think this is going to be really important for me to understand throughout this process, is get out your keyboard, type in the comments here. On a scale of 1 to 5, can you please share your familiarity or expertise with Storyline? 1 being noob and learning, and 5 being pro status. This will help me tailor our conversation today. So I'm toggling back to the comments here to see um, if people are going to respond. Scale of 1 to 5. And I'm going to take a couple sips of coffee while I'm waiting for that to sprinkle in. We got a 4, we got a 1. We got a 5, another 1, a 3, a 1, 4, maybe 5, 4. Cool. Wow, there are a lot of you on today. Thank you for the participation. 3.6. That's my favorite one. Thank you. Okay. Beautiful. So I really am seeing things across the board. So what I will do is I will tailor this to about a 3. So for some of you that are a 4 and a 5, this may all be very, maybe some of the things I'll say will be redundant, maybe not. And then for those of you that are 2 or 3, be like, all right. So thank you for that. I really appreciate all of this, the interaction here. It's really amazing to see all you. There's a lot of you in the call today. Ooh, all right. No pressure, Allie. It's all gonna be fine. Okay, great. So cool. So I will aim for about a 3 here. So what is a simple simulator? Man, I should have thought about that before I made this presentation, right? Okay. So what it is, in terms of how I'm defining it, this is nowhere in research. This is just our definition, because we have to put this in a box in some way, right? So it's a pseudo environment that guides a learner through the steps they will take when using a new piece of technology, and an app, a device, things I explained earlier, built on screenshots and hotspot type interactions, whether they be hotspots themselves or shapes that we are making behave like a hotspot. And it's kind of a nice middle ground between like having a screen capture video where the learner is just watching and not physically engaging, and a full-fledged development heavy environment, which is what it is not. So simple simulators, the way that we're describing them, they are faster to create. And for your clients, they are more cost effective while still giving you a pretty great interactive experience. So it's not a completely authentic experience. There are, if you're going to really make a true full-fledged simulator, that will likely require a lot of coding or one of those applications or tools that enables you to really capture. There's a company, I forget what they're called, but they allow you to capture your screens in like this interactive video format. This is not that authentic experience. The user can't click anywhere that they want to and do all kinds of fun stuff. So it's not a fully interactive sandbox, but that's fine because we don't want it to be that. We want it to be something we can put together easily and something that the client will like and be like, I could afford that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Sounds good to me. So that's our definition. So what are we seeing today? There are two kinds of simple sims that I'll be covering today. And I've just creatively named them DIY triggers. That's the first one. So this is where we're going to be using shapes as air quotes hotspots. Triggers are manually set by you, and you'll have one base slide and then slide layers for each subsequent step in your process. And then you have hint buttons for users to use when they get stuck. And then as a way for them to get unstuck, you have a start over button. The other thing I will preface this is these can be customized in so many different ways, right? This is just one way of showing you for the sake of this presentation. So there are things like gating and allowing them to continue so they don't truly get stuck. I'm not really talking about that today because we only have 45 minutes together. So just to kind of preface that. The second kind is using the built-in hotspot interaction. So you use hotspots for correct areas, and if they click outside of that hotspot, then it will give feedback via an incorrect layer. And the user can get, a certain number of tries. I have denoted 2 tries in this, but you could set however many tries you want. I don't ever really recommend unlimited because that's how people may be getting stuck. And then once the interaction is built here, then the slides can be easily copied and pasted, and then you can just replace your screenshot and your direction. And I'll kind of explain the things that you need to actually change when you're going through each of these stages. So this is one slide per interaction, whereas the other method is you have one base slide and everything's built on layers. So I'm going to go back to the chat here. Yes. Excellent. Okay. So, of course, we're not showing, the whole process here, but before you build your sim, make sure to do your analysis and determine which workflows or processes are the highest priority to explore. What, asking your client, okay, what steps are either typically the most difficult for users to follow, and or what's like the most impactful thing that they'll be doing on a day-to-day basis. So for example, using the lock boxes, well, they need to know how to unlock that lockbox once they get to the property. So that's what we wanted to show them. If you're going to prioritize, what thing are we going to walk you through? And then, of course, you need to do your design. So I'm kind of going to show you a little bit of the design there, kind of, but mostly the development. So planning out your workflows, definitely recommend scripting or outlining in some way so that you collect all of the screenshots that you need. And then, labeling your assets appropriately. That might seem like a really straightforward thing, but you really need to make sure that you understand. It's just a lot easier to pop the images in because all the images are just going to differ by one step, right? So being able to easily change them out and all that. And then, of course, planning your look and feel for your sim, branding, backgrounds, slide size, etc. So the slide size that I chose for today was it was a size I had used before for users that would most likely be taking this on an iPad. So it's mobile friendly and also computer friendly, and so that's why you're going to see the aspect ratio be a little bit different than you're probably used to in Storyline. And that was intentional to give us all just another perspective, kind of fun. So, okay, our case study here is hypothetical. It's pretend. Google, please don't. I'm not trying to make money off of you. I was like, what can I do? Well, I have a Google Nest learning thermostat in my house, and I have the Google Nest app. So I was able to take screenshots, and I was like, what's a fun app that I could simulate using that wouldn't bore everyone to tears? So I chose the Google Nest learning thermostat. So in this hypothetical scenario, I created this scenario kind of in my head and planned this out in a way that I've worked with clients before. So the learner profile for this is that it's going to be an interactive scenario for customers who are going to be learning the basics of using their Google Nest Learning Thermostat. And this will primarily be taking, this course will be primarily taken on mobile. And then the other assumption that we're making is that this piece will be embedded into Rise. And so we have an intro slide and an outro slide to kind of frame the interaction. And then the two workflows that I'll be kind of showing you is how to manually change the temperature and then how to navigate to different menu screens and different features of the thermostat. So that's kind of what we're going to be going into. So instead of showing you the steps on the slide, I basically just wrote these things down so you can reference them later. But let's play in Storyline now. And let's do this. Hold please. Let's see. Yeah, we'll share my Storyline window. All right, and then I'll make sure, yeah, you guys can see it. Okay, awesome. So in the Storyline file, this is the exact same one you have. So we'll be looking at three, probably for the sake of time flies when you're having fun. So let's look at the first type, which is the manual triggers. Okay, actually this, so there is a hotspot here. So what I've done, let's open up the trigger panel here, is so when you're putting something into Rise, fun fact for those of you probably on the 3, 2, or 1 scale, is that if you have some kind of animation or audio or video playing, when you insert a Rise piece, a Storyline piece into Rise, it will give you a black screen. So to avoid a black screen, the very first slide that you should do should be static. And so I've actually just made this a static slide with a hotspot over it. So it just says tap the thermostat to start. So this is our opening slide. And I chose a background that I could utilize throughout the entire presentation. And of course, I Google-fied it with the Google's branding colors and all that jazz. And so that's our first slide. And this one is a hotspot because we don't really care about this changing state. So it's just going to jump to slide 1.2, intro, when the user clicks that. So then we have an introduction slide. And this one does have little animation. So this is prefacing the interaction. So, hey, in this simulation, you're going to tap on the appropriate part of the mobile phone screen. Again, we're using tap because this is primarily for mobile users. So we're not going to say click, we're going to say tap. And it kind of describes what they're going to be doing. So this is what the shape is going to look like. So I made this yellow with a slight with a transparency so that you could still see underneath it. And obviously it won't be like this for the whole time. It's going to be on the particular part of the screen. And then, you know, those little question mark icons, well, this is a perfect use case for that. So you can have your little button and then they can click on that. I love using these for hint buttons. And then you can just change the text for the hint. So this is the prefacing slide, nothing crazy here. Jump to next slide when the user clicks or swipes next. And then, cool, so this is where our interaction comes into play. All right, so you have your base layer. And then the only things that are changing once you make the base layer is the screenshot that you took. And then, of course, the direction text here and the hint text. So it's designed so that, you know, work smarter, not harder. So these are the only things you're going to be changing through the process. So you have, okay, from the home screen, tap the Nest app icon. Cool. So then these triggers are also pretty straightforward. You'll just have to change the layer that it corresponds to. Show layer. And here I've just numbered them. And my screenshots ideally would have the same number as my layer. File management corresponding to your layer so you can find everything. That kind of workflow is just fun to talk about. Okay, so here's our first screenshot. Here's our first interaction. So this is a shape. Allie, why is it not a hotspot? Well, I'll tell you. For this sim, it doesn't really matter. This could be a hotspot. However, the one thing you can't do with hotspots is change states. So if you ever need this shape to do something as a function of the state being changed, you cannot do that. So that's why sometimes you want to think about using a shape versus a hotspot. So that's kind of why I do this. Additionally, I wanted a color. So you could make, like, the world is your oyster, right? So you could make this a hotspot, you could make this an invisible shape. Um, you kind of want to think about how difficult do you want this to be on the learner, that user experience perspective. So that's why it's a shape, because I wanted it to be a color. And then if I want to change the state at a certain point in time, I can do that. So then the next thing is, okay, oh, and by the way, you probably saw us up here, but in this step, we're going to learn how to manually adjust the temperature of our thermostat. Notice how I put it on the wall. Isn't that kind of cute? I love using little backgrounds and then like real images of, oh, look, it looks like that thing's on the wall. I don't know. I think it's fun. Okay. Cool. So this one, we just changed the screenshot. So with this, you'll see the phone is actually on top overlay, because you see that little part of the phone's on top. So the phone has to go on top. Oh, and the phone's also underneath, but doesn't matter. You can't really see it. But see, that picture would have like a weird border. So that makes it nice and pretty and clean to have the phone on top, transparent in the middle. So, okay, next step, tap the image of the Nest thermostat that says hallway. Cool. And then our hint button. I like to say them in a little bit of a different way, like not just duplicate the words, like how else may this help the learner understand? Also, it's bright yellow, but again, this is kind of assuming that maybe you choose to have it clear so that the learner really has to hunt and peck for it, right? Okay, and then you have your next screen, and this one is going to look really similar for the next several. So we want to raise the temperature to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Tap the up arrow until a temperature of 65 degrees Fahrenheit is reached. So that, oh, I never discussed this, the start over. Sorry, I'm like looking at the clock going, where's all the time going? So the start over layer or a button is an easy way to go back to the very beginning to start it. You could program this button to go back to the previous layer, but guess what? That's a lot more programming. You can't copy and paste a trigger that says go back to just the previous layer. Hide this layer, you can copy and paste that, and that's kind of why I choose that. So the learner doesn't get stuck. You can have the next button appear, after X amount of time, or X amount of clicks or something like that, if you want to really make sure that the user doesn't get stuck. So then you can kind of see the progression through the screenshots, right? So it's all going to look the same. They press up, it's going to go to 60. They press up, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Cool, great work. Yay, good job. Now tap the back arrow to go back. And then you're going to, this is your, hey, you're done with this exercise, continue. And then this goes down to like the kind of closing wrapper, scroll down to continue the training if it's in Rise. So let's preview what this looks like. And I'll preview from the iPad because it looks, oh, silly me, I chose the wrong slide. Preview this slide. Okay, so you tap that, you tap the hallway, you tap the up arrow, do, 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 do. Hey, great work. Go back. Oh, gasp, my button's not working. And guess what? That happens sometimes. Show layer unassigned. Gasp. So we want to show layer 9. This is why in the steps that I have, it's really important to test. And also, I don't know how that got broken because it's like work yesterday, but storyline, say Levy, it's fine. I'm sure, I mean, obviously it was my fault, but I like to just blame other tools. So let's do that one more time. So when you're testing, you want to make sure that you're testing for the desired route. And then you also want to test like all the hint buttons and all the start over buttons. That's what you would test for. So here's the beauty of the simple sim in this little interaction here is that the learner can simulate the experience of changing the temperature in the exact way, almost the exact way they would do it, because they're going to tap this button on their phone screen. That's what they're going to actually do. Did we need to simulate the entire application in order to do that, in order to give a pretty authentic, fairly authentic experience? No, we didn't have to do that. Screenshots is completely sufficient for something like this. And of course, it's going to be like, you can't go, because that's going to go to the next slide. So that is the trigger method. And running up on time here, we have the hotspot method. So I gave the instructions in the slides for you guys to look at. Also, you have the storyline file, so you can play. I love getting storyline files from other people because I love seeing how people do stuff. It's so fun to see how everyone plans their things. So for this, you're going to build your hotspot interaction of once. I'm actually going to go down to, I think all of these are the same, but let's just, for the sake of the exercise. So the way this is built out is when you go to new slide, graded question, and you're going to choose the hotspot interaction. And then you're going to adjust the settings. I gave the list of all the settings, but essentially feedback by choice, no results slide, score by question, attempts to, submit on click. That's really important. You want the interaction to go when they click somewhere on the screen. And then there's some things in form view that you want to do too. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to put your hotspot where you want it. It's going to jump to the next slide. It's also going to submit that interaction. So you need both these triggers in order for that to work. And then instead of a hint button here, we have an incorrect layer. Again, very easy for you to change because all you're doing for this is you're changing the incorrect directions to help guide them. And you're changing the instructions and you're changing the screenshot. So you're only changing 3 things for this. You are copying and pasting the slides otherwise. The way we have this trigger built out is in order for the learner to not get stuck, is we have jump to the next slide when the user clicks try again if attempt count is greater than or equal to 2. So if they try this twice, the try again button will actually just be like, okay, bye, just go to the next step. Like you didn't figure it out. That's okay, but we're going to move on. It's going to be fine. So that's essentially what that is. So let's take a look. Let's preview this scene. I would say the hotspot is a little bit trickier to set up, but then really easy to change as you're going through the slides. So cool. From the home screen, tap the image of the nest. Doot, 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 doot. Yay! Tap the back arrow. Boop. What if I get it wrong? Nope, not quite. So this comes across. Try again. What if I do it wrong again? Ooh, not quite. Okay, there we go. And then now you can finish it, and then the finish button closes it. So I went through that one kind of fast. What I did do for you is I made another one here for you to take a look at. So this is exploring features. And so you can play around with this one. So this one is built out, but I didn't describe it in the demo. But what I challenge you to do is take a look at this, learn how this one is built, or, delete all the screenshots and, recreate it, and then make a hotspot interaction using this. So turn this into a hotspot interaction. That is my challenge for you. So let's see. I will share something else instead. Let's see. Stop screen. Present. Let's go back to these slides real quick. Cool. Okay. So here's all the steps for you. Happy holidays. Oh, hey, my image worked now. Okay, so you have all the steps. You have the storyline file. You have the slide deck. So something I've been wanting to do for a really long time is have storyline office hours. And this is actually, you are the first people that I've told this to, aside from my marketing person. So I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, is offer free help with storyline. So Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Convert that for UK time. Let's see, what would that be? I don't know. That's probably pretty late at night for you guys. But do you have a question about a pesky trigger in storyline? Do you want to just brainstorm, like, what's a fun way for me to, I don't know, turn this into an interactive interaction? Um, are you learning storyline and you need some one-on-one support? Oh, hey, I'm watching this video, but I can't figure out this thing. Come to my storyline office hours beginning next Wednesday. And there's a link to the Google Calendar here so you can see all the events. This is totally a trial one. Like I said, I've never done this before, but I've been wanting to do this. It's been on my vision board for like a year. So I felt like this is a really cool opportunity to offer this. Totally happy to hear your thoughts there. And with that, thank you so much for coming today. There's a lot of you here, and honestly, it's pretty amazing. So yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, what questions do you have with the time that we have left? And now looking back in the chat.
It was brilliant. Thank you, Ali. I just wanted to say really a thank you for doing the office hours, because I think that's a really great thing. I think there are a lot of people who are kind of using storyline, like you say, have those odd things, and especially those of us that work on our own.
Mhm.
You can drive yourself slightly insane trying to find that one trigger or that thing or the variable that you thought you named one thing, but in fact named it another. And getting out there and asking other people for help is, a really great way of handling that. We have got some questions coming through though, so let me
Mhm.
grab those. From Desiree, how do you decide to use slides or layers in an interaction?
Yeah, that's a great question. It kind of just depends on what kind of experience you want. So let's see. So recently, it's actually been very recently that I learned about the hotspot way. Like I had never really done that before, and so the hotspot method is really good, especially if you have a lot of work to turn over. I would say again, once you build that, the hotspot is a lot easier. It's a lot faster to make. You replace just three things, and the testing is very minimal typically as well. To do the layers, that's kind of like, it might be kind of a client choice. Do you want to have the hint buttons, um, etc. But if you know that you want something to happen as a function of someone clicking it, besides simply just going to the next layer, if you want a state, if you ever think you want a state, just start by building shapes, because you cannot do states with hotspots. So if you ever think that you want to have something else happen as a function of something else, then do the hotspots, or sorry, shapes for sure. That's my biggest thing there.
Peter's added the comment, slightly insane. Storyline has literally morphed me into the Incredible Hulk at times. I think we've all experienced that. That's I used to get I've got one of those like slightly bouncy but quite hard, like big ball. Well, it's supposed to be like a stress ball that you roll under your feet, but it bounces off the wall quite well. It's a bit like Toby in The West Wing. The worse it gets, the more the ball hits the wall, kind of thing. Um, and let's have a look. What have we got? What have we got question wise? Oh, on average, how long does it take to create a sim like this?
Hey, that's a great question. So keep in mind that um, this the sim creation is not just the development, but careful planning on what you need to do on the back end, and like what needs to happen, and also capturing screenshots. You might think is really straightforward, but sometimes, especially as you're using an app on your phone, you might think that screen might not be important, but you need every single intermediate screen. So sometimes you have to go back and collect. Um, yeah, so I would say for probably for like let's just say a hotspot interaction, because I did a lot of those last fall. For probably like a 30 slide hotspot interaction, you're probably looking at somewhere between 3 to 8 hours, depending on the the design needs. That's a really rough estimate. Yeah, it's really hard to estimate time, for every project. There was another one
Absolutely.
here that was about challenging with SMEs. I
Yes, there was a. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I think I'd like to hear about a major challenge you had with this, and what issues arise when SMEs or stakeholders ask for more in a simple sim than it can really do.
Yeah, so it's kind of that conversation of like, hey, if you want something more in depth, we can certainly do that. It's just going to take some more development time and it's going to require a change order for some more. So, always bringing it back to the scope of the project, and that's kind of where sidebar, the project management aspect of being a freelancer, being an ID really comes in handy is like really understanding what the scope of the project is. So you can say, yeah, that would be really amazing to do. I could certainly do this with the tool, but we do have limitations with the tool, so I couldn't do that. But if you want to discuss that for a future project, we can certainly do that. Um, and just really having conversations around the capability of the tool, your time and efforts, and then their money. It's kind of what that um, surrounds. So let's see. Um, Tom
Sorry, I'm back. There
escaped.
we
Oh,
go.
he's back. He's back.
Duh-duh-duh-duh. I think that might be all the questions. Um, doop 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 doo. I'm not sure this is a question or SL's automatic slide pasted object numbering that we cannot delete is a grand source of frustration for me. Oh, fair enough.
I pasted object numbering. Hmm. Like, do you mean like numbering slides themselves? I'm not, but yeah, just the way that storyline numbers things in general. Actually, I don't know if you're talking about this, but like scene numbering, ooh, that's like one of my frustrations is the fact that, oh, excuse me, got too excited there. The fact that you can't like easily renumber scenes, but
Oh, yes, sorry, this question did come up, and I thought it was a great question when I saw it, and then I forgot about it. What would be a good first-time project idea in storyline? I would say
mm.
close it and use something else. But Ali, what would you say?
Yeah, so I work with a lot of IDs that, or not a lot, but a handful of IDs that are transitioning into the field or learning the tool. And my biggest recommendation is find a topic that you're passionate about, that you want to teach somebody about, and then make a storyline project about that so that you are the SME in that case. You don't have to do a whole lot of research and you can really focus on the creativity aspect, the design, and the development of it. So, whatever your hobby is, someone I know did their first project on like Formula One. She and her husband are really big fans of Formula One. I've seen people do things on trail running and like just really cool stuff, actually. Share what you do because someone's going to get a kick out of it. Um,
Oh, and we got some info on that numbering
oh,
thing.
I
That is
see what you're
annoying.
saying. Yes, yes, yes. I totally 100% agree. Or if it's like image one and then it goes image 1 1, and I'm like, no, why didn't you just renumber it to two? Yes.
This is it. Okay, well, let's do a final question then, because then we'll be up on time. So Jennifer's asked, storyline versus PowerPoint. With many of the new updates, you can do some of the same actions. Thoughts, pros, and cons.
Yeah, so I don't really do any kind of like clicky type interactions in PowerPoint these days. I've heard some really cool things about the morph. Uh, so I don't know that I'd be the best person to answer that PowerPoint question, but I will say that storyline, as we know, is PowerPoint with extra dimensions and extra fun stuff. So I would say it probably would depend on what tool you need for that particular project. If something can embed storyline, like if you can do SCORM or if you're popping it into Rise, definitely storyline is better, but maybe there's a case where PowerPoint is better. Oh,
Oh,
the static slide is an intro. Do I have time for that, Tom? Am I
yeah,
putting in
go for it.
any?
You've got 5 minutes. I thought the answer to that one would be longer. That's fine.
Oh,
I was
sure.
expecting more from you, Ali. Come on. That's
Oh
no.
gosh.
Um,
Oh no.
I was
I
I was just
shouldn't
thinking
be
if I
Tom's.
would answer that question, it would have been a 15-minute spiel. So that's fine.
Oh,
It's probably
really?
a good thing I'm not the one talking.
Hey, if you want to add something to that, feel
Oh
feel
no, I have
free.
I, I have no more value to add. I just talk a lot. It's
Oh. Well, you're good at talking. No, but you're also excellent at adding value. Tom is a great host. Can we all just agree? Can we all just give Tom a hand for doing all of this? Clap, clap, clap.
oh,
Clap
don't do that.
emoji.
That's embarrassing. Yeah, hosting's easy. It's just here's Ali. Bye.
Bye. um, so can you explain again the static slide as an intro slide when inserting? Yeah. So, um, this is kind of one of those things that you learn and you're just like, oh, that happens. So, let's say you have a video, for example, that you wrap in storyline, and then you're gonna pop it in. Like, let's say you have a video, and then, yay, there's the clap emojis. Perfect. Well, if you do that, if you like import something that has any kind of animation or audio or video, and you go to upload that into Rise, Rise can't preview that. Because it can't preview, it's like, well, what do you want me to preview? Things are moving. Things are moving right now. What should I show you? It shows a black screen with the white play button. Y'all know what, does that maybe sound familiar? So when you have an interaction that you're embedding and you have any kind of, animations or something like that, just put a slide with no animation on it and a hotspot that's just like click or tap here to continue. That way they see a pretty screen and not a black screen with a white play button. So I hope that makes sense. Um, yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. It's been a really fun time. Thank you all for coming. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions. Come join me in Storyline Office Hours that we're kicking off. And yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn through all the links and all the things. And I hope you all have a really great day and take care and happy simming. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for running the session. Thank you, everyone in the audience as well. The recording of this session will, of course, be available within a couple of hours. Next up, in 15 minutes, we have collaborative design with SMEs, 3 case studies. And starting right now over on the Zoho stage, we have cracking culture with Nate Rowland from Thrive. So lots going on, all being recorded, so you don't have to miss a thing. You can go either way for your live attendance and then watch the rest later. Thanks all again, and we shall see you later.